What's up everybody, it's Valk here. I'm going to talk to you about a Reddit post which was made, which posted an image I created about a role preference. Since there was much confusion and the original poster didn't really have a clue when he posted it, and this can be seen since he thinks you're locked into a role which is completely the wrong idea, so we're going to ignore the guy and I'll explain my thoughts behind it. Let me start by saying this system could potentially not work at all, but there is nothing wrong with ideas, and when somebody tells you to stop like the OP did, just ignore them because there are no bad ideas. So this was the image I made. It was a quick mock design I made up in about 10 minutes on Photoshop of when you click the play button, it'll come up with a box, and what will happen is you'll have two preferred roles. The whole idea is that when you join a game, you're more likely to have a balance of heroes than if you join a game and everybody wants to play DPS and has little experience on other heroes. But Overwatch is a game of flex, and that's how it should be played. I'm a Pharah main, I love to play Pharah, and I'm very good at her, but I do play other heroes too. A lot of my YouTube stuff just promotes my Pharah stuff, but if you watch my streams, I'm also playing Zarya and Ana, whatever I need to flex because I want to win games, and I'm not just going to lock into a hero just because I want to play them all the time. But there have been some games where I'll go in and I'll look at the profiles on my team and we'll have full support guys who have very little experience on DPS. Yeah, Overwatch should be about flexing, but some people don't, and that is the reality of it. And a tank player who might have very little DPS or anything else experience that we might need. So the team is going to need to flex onto heroes that they're not going to play as well at that level, which means that the game isn't going to be as balanced or as good as it could be. Alright, so back to the image. This does not mean that you are locked to a hero category. What this means is that if you prefer to play support, you go into a game, you're not just going to be locked to support. It just means that you prefer to play that category. You could go in as support, discuss with the team, and end up playing DPS because you'll find that the map that you're playing, you're better at the DPS, and the DPS player is actually better at support on that map. You still have the exact same freedom as you do today to switch up and discuss with the team. It just means when you go into the game, instead of having, like 5 or 6 DPS players, or maybe 5 or 6 support players, or, whatever else combination you can have, it means that you're more likely to have a nice spread of players that can play comfortably at that level between all of the categories, and then you can, as a team, discuss what you need to do, as you do today, to switch up to 3 tanks, 2 DPS and 1 support, whatever you need to do. The second point, and I'm not going to call it meta because for some reason people think it's meta, but it's just a composition, that it forces a 2-2-2 composition, which means 2 healers, 2 tanks and 2 DPS. This does not mean that you need to play 2-2-2, and you can have every freedom and every right to discuss and switch up with the team to what composition is needed versus the enemy. You might end up with 4 DPS, or another game where you're 3 tanks, 2 DPS and 1 support. The idea that you've got at least some proficient players in your game on each category at the level that you play at might lead for you to have better games than if people who were in your game only played certain categories, which regularly happens. I do, however, because I'm not completely closed-minded, understand people's concern that it could potentially force composition, and it very well could do. It very well could be that, people get used to playing 2-2-2, but most likely it wouldn't if people still have the flexibility and freedom that they do today. And that was one of the biggest concerns, that you're forcing, or they say a meta, or forcing a play style. But if I was to go into a game where we had a baseline of 2-2-2, which we could change from, versus 5 DPS with, like I say, the little experience on the other heroes, I actually still think it would turn out to be better games. The whole game is about being flexible. Blizzard want you to know a variety of heroes and a variety of roles, which is the ideal perfect dream in the perfect world, but unfortunately it doesn't always happen, and you know that, I'm sure in your games it's happened in my games, but I know that in my games I want to win, I will switch up, I will flex to what is needed, even if it's a hero which, I know that I'm not as good at, but I'm trying to learn more heroes so I can be as effective in the games. I've also had some very enjoyable games where it's been nice and balanced and everybody flexes, and they're the best games. People on comms, people play a variety of heroes, I'll swap, they'll swap, and they're kind of the best games, but it doesn't always happen. And from what I've heard in kind of like the lower elo, the golds and silvers, where people will play DPS, they won't play anything else, they will not play support. Imagine if these players could queue up in a system where, at least they have some of each of the categories in their game. So, one team has, say it is 2-2-2, they have 2 supports, 2 DPS and 2 tanks, versus another team in gold which have just been matchmaked and they're all DPS and they're all playing DPS and no supports or anything like that. The team which have, the balanced kind of team composition, or the more balanced team composition, could potentially win or have a better game. There are players who flex and are good on multiple roles, which is amazing, but on the other hand you have people who don't. This comment here from Reddit states, We, the player base, need to realize that maining a hero is the problem. We need to be flexible on multiple heroes, which is completely correct. You know, the guy hit the nail on the head. But at what point will the community realize and actually change, if ever? Because if it doesn't change, then potentially something like this is needed. For the record, I'm not really a fan of MOBAs. I've never played one, but I've heard that there's like a role select in, for example, League of Legends. Some people say it works really well. Other people say that it makes the queue times longer, and probably would be the same for Overwatch, which is not something that people want. And, you know, Blizzard want to keep their queue times shorter, so it's one reason, I guess, why this isn't also in, because people don't want to wait forever to find a game, which is completely understandable. And it's, for me as a streamer, I don't want to be waiting 5 minutes per game because, you know, that's just silly, really. I'll also assume Blizzard have thought about something along the lines of this too, but potentially might feel it's too restrictive or whatever 100 of ideas, reasons why this won't work. But I'm just in favor of having balanced games. I'm sure you're in favor of having balanced games as well. So this was just, as I say, a spitball idea. As I said at the start, this is a system that might not ever work. You might hate it, but there's nothing wrong with having an idea. So for when somebody like the OP says, please stop, take some advice from Valkyria. Don't stop. The Reddit post actually turned into some pretty nice discussion. However, the OP made people start thinking negatively from the very beginning instead of having an open mind and thinking of it kind of positively. Maybe he's just happy with the way things are. I don't know, man. I also just want to take a moment to thank the people in the Reddit post who said, hey, this is an idea, it might not work, it might completely fail, but it's still an idea to a problem we've currently got in competitive, instead of just kind of shutting the door on it straight away. Now, like I say, I don't know if it'd ever work, it might completely fail, but it's still something which I thought about and said, hey, let's just see and discuss it. If you've got some constructive feedback that you'd like to add, make sure to drop a comment. Negative or positive, it's fine. You know, I could be in favor, or somebody might say, hey, did you think about this? And I might completely change my tune and say, actually, role select would never work. You know, I'm just in favor, as I said, of balanced games. I want you to have great games. I want to have great games, and hopefully you do have great games. But if you've enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe. You can also catch the gameplay live on Twitch. You can also see the Pharah gameplay live on my Twitch channel, Valkyria, every day. If you love my content, you can support me by subscribing to my Twitch channel, and if you have Amazon Prime, you can link that with Twitch and get Twitch Prime, and subscribe for free. However, this does need to be renewed every 30 days, but it helps me out a ton. The link to the stream is in the description.